All right, so hey guys, welcome back to another episode of the Charlotte Outdoors podcast. This is your host Toro the Magi. Who I have with me is Rebecca Clips.
Yeah, Rebecca
Lips, my bad. And yes, she's another visual artist out here. She does installations, murals, all types of different things out here in Charlotte. And we want to get her on here to kind of talk about her journey. Provide some inspiration and just information about the journey and to anyone else. So, how you doing today?
Yeah, I'm doing great. Nice, easy Sunday today. How are you doing?
I'm doing great. I feel really good to be able to talk to people on this and get more inspiration and more insight on your event, because I feel like I can't fully do this podcast without doing my own art. So it's getting me back into the studio, doing a little bit more and everything, and so I can have more inspiration to talk to you about things. And so I'm glad to have you here, if I'm being honest.
Yeah. Thank you. I'm glad to be here. I really appreciate what you guys are doing. Charlotte has a growing art community, and just for you guys to be able to highlight that and record that, I think is super important. So I appreciate your work.
No problem. How long have you been doing art, by the way?
So that's a tough question, because it's artists, they've been doing, the answer is I've been doing it since I was little, but, which I have, my first time I realized I was good at art, I was drawing birds in my grandfather's basement when I was really little. But I've been making art or interested in art since middle school through high school. And then I got, my BA and with an education major as well. From Winthrop or from Xavier University, and at Winthrop I've got my master's of fine arts. So I've been educating myself with art for a long time, and then just being involved in the Charlotte art community, it's been almost 10 years now.
Almost definitely. That's crazy. You've been out here for a while. Are you from Charlotte?
I'm not from Charlotte. I'm originally from Cincinnati, Ohio. Okay. So I moved down here in 2013, so just been integrating myself into the community ever since.
That's cool. And I know that you learned a lot and everything. And you teach art, correct?
Yes, I teach middle school art, and I get a lot of bless your hearts when I tell people that down here in the South. They're oh, bless your heart. I'm okay. But yes, it's just because middle school is tough ages to deal with sometimes, but I love it. So I'm down teaching in Fort Mill, but I live in Charlotte.
That's cool that you're able to find the time and the mental space to be able to have your own craft that you're getting better at, or just perfecting to be the best thing, and also still teach the youth about this thing called art that we have as humans. So that's cool. And I've seen we're gonna get into your specific the different things that you have your hands in, because you're all over the place and very eccentric with the way you do things, and I don't know if it's gonna be in the podcast, but the product that you have on the table right here, you make things. You do things no one else does. I'm not gonna talk about the other thing that I know that you make, but talk to me about how what's caused you to be instead of just painting or just making sculptures, I want to make things that no one's ever seen before, in a different way. What's caused that? Talk to me about that.
Yeah, I do. That's what drives me. Just making things that no one's ever seen before, taking something that's familiar to us, but then making it different and giving people new perspective. I really like giving people that new perspective. My background is in painting. In undergrad, I was learning oil painting, and we painted the specific way, the Dutch masters, and recreated that technique over and over and over again. And I think I kind of got burnt out on it. I got burnt out on oil painting, and because it's been done before, that same technique that I was learning, and just wanted to try something new. My first steps into projections and projection mapping was I wanted to take a painting, but just my experience in art and the time, and I wanted to make it move. And so I was trying to make these small moving paintings. So take videos of different things in nature, and then my idea is just projecting them on a canvas to make something move, like a painting, and it kind of transitions into other things and opened me up to a whole world of possibilities with projection.
So I have a question. I've been looking into it. I'm how do you do this stuff? And I've seen videos of the whole the behind the scenes, on the tablet monitor screen, the way it's controlling the projector and other stuff. Can you talk about a little bit kind of the technical aspect of all that?
Yeah, of course. So with projection mapping, you can integrate a couple interactive elements that at least I work with into it. There's a digital screen, like an iPad that I've been working with through Touch OSC, You can connect it to a different program that I use, Resolume, and it is connected to a bunch of different videos that I've uploaded in there that are coming out on the projector. And the screen controls what effects and what videos are being played at what time, so you can have audience interaction. So people can come up to the projection and control it themselves. I call them like the visual conductors of the screen, the visuals that are up there. And it's all just through these specific programs, Resolume and Touch OSC.
Okay. That's cool. And like, it's with your projecting, it's not just a random projector. It's coming out of a projector in an eyeball on a Volkswagen Beetle.
Yeah. So my latest project with Mark Depker's, the eye illumination project, it's just got so we decided I really wanted to make projection mobile, and Mark's known for putting sculptures on top of his car. And I was like, Mark, I have an idea. Let's collaborate. And it was great to be able to come together and design this eyeball sculpture specifically for my projector to be able to drive around on top of a car and project on things. So it's been a really fun project.
I feel like you've been able to like push the boundaries of like what art is, like, because I feel like I've never heard of that being done before, if I'm being honest. And it kind of brings the art. It's like not stationary anymore. You can just go around and like, hey, there's a car next to me. I'm about to just project this onto here. And then like, it's like this beautiful thing that came out of my mind. It's now able to just go wherever I want to go. And it's like, it's just really cool to think about that and everything.
Yes. I think it's our duty as artists to make things that have never been seen before. It's just, art can say things that are really hard to say, orally, and it can give you messages that are hard to talk about. And then, it just makes it easier in that way. I think with projection, when you make projections or when you see projectors, they're usually mounted to a ceiling or a wall or on a table, and they're stagnant. And so just taking that technology and being able to move it around mobily and to any place, I think opens up a whole another world of possibilities.
So you've had a lot of installations, correct?
Yeah. I did start making installations. I was talking to people about it. About Good Times was when I did my first public show installation, which is an immersive installation that I had to do with flowers. I need 300 flowers for that project, and then people could come through a projection and interact with my sculptures in the same way. And I have just gravitated towards installation because I want to give people an experience with my work. I've had a lot of my paintings and drawings in galleries, traditional gallery settings, where you kind of walk around and see them on a wall. But I find that my art is more meaningful when people can experience it in different ways.
I was literally just about to ask you about that, like, because it's not for you. It just seems like whenever you do things, you do it kind of bigger than just a drawing or something like that. It's always like, all right, where are all the pieces that can come together to make this, allow the community to come through and like, experience that word experience. And like, I mean, like, is that something you had to learn over time, just from like something that's missing and like you just had to figure it out? Or like, what made you think that I need to have an experience whenever I make art?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think it came naturally over time a little bit. It wasn't really like an overnight kind of wake up, but it was something that I just kind of realized and noticed and observed, through my work and other people's work, and just like observing my viewer and the audience and kind of reacting to what they like about my work. And I think it really started when I was so at Winthrop University, I got my Master's of Fine Arts there, and that's when I started exploring sculpture and video. I started teaching myself, and there was a sculpture professor there that is an amazing professor, but they're an amazing artist that sort of got me back into sculpture, because honestly, it was very scary for me. When I went to Winthrop, I was a painter. I was a 2D painter, drawer. And I didn't like touching 3D work. And I think that going to Winthrop and getting my master's got me out of my box a little bit. So I was able to like experiment and do things that I hadn't done before. I think they have a great program, master's program, that just really allowed me to experiment and open up. And that's where you make your biggest discoveries. And
Pushing over your boundaries. It was kind of like a hard fought like type of like way of doing things. Like,
yeah, doing things that you're scared to do, being vulnerable to do with your work, I think is important, and it's scary. It is scary, but you know, I find people gravitate more towards artwork that is more vulnerable or genuine or comes from a place of realness. So a lot of my work, that kind of work, I kind of just make it for me and then kind of put it out there in the world. And I kind of want to turn my head the other way when people are looking at it, because I'm like, oh, what people are going to think of it. But yeah, but it's an exciting thing too. So when people like it.
so it seems like you're not the same Rebecca as before when you started doing this at all. Like, as like, what has had to change like within you to kind of like get to this point where you're able to like take these risks and go in these places you haven't gone before as much, and you know, be who you are right now today?
Yes, I had to have a very open mind, and I had to think of myself as an artist. That's one thing that was harder for me to do back in the day when I was just a painter. Like I felt like I was just making paintings, commissions to people, and I didn't really, I have my own style, but it's hard for me to call myself an artist. And then once I did call myself an artist, then what is that identity of me as an artist? I'm trying to figure that out. And that changed over time. I just had to have an open mind, and instead of like defining myself as one thing, I always thought this is kind of a vulnerable thing for me, because I was always that artist that felt like I didn't have a style. I was kind of jealous of the people that were making all these beautiful paintings that were in the same style. And I was like, I don't have a style. I don't have a specific style. And I thought that was just like something that was negative about me. And then I realized over time that that's actually something to embrace, because then I can branch out and do other things, and I don't put myself in a box as an artist. So I'm able to experiment in that way.
That's like something that I always, because I feel like me personally, like with my music and everything, like I feel like I mean, you know who I am by listening to my music, but like I feel like I can do whatever I want. So it's like I'm not just like inside of one box, but it's like whenever you like that, you can do like these crazy, I think you're supposed to be able to do like these crazy things. I feel like all of us, in a way, we already do this. Like we don't just do one thing. We do all types of things, and with the right lens, it can all be inside of a box depending on what you look at it. But like as an artist, that's amazing to be multidimensional and like be able to do all these multifaceted things and create like an experience, especially in this community that is growing, and you able to contribute to like have things for people to come back to and come into the moment, and the I try to say like the ability for us to create things, and we're able to like enjoy that. Everybody else can enjoy that.
Right, exactly. That's the same with music. You make music, and it's nice to know that people can enjoy your music in the same way or in like a different way than you do.
Wow. Most definitely. Like, all right, so I have a question. Like, you've done a lot of different things. You talked about like the flowers, and like, what has been like the most like your happy, I won't say happiest, but most like interesting experience / project that you've had so far?
Okay, so I think it's hard because all my work is so different. I tend to make especially my big happening works, or I call them happening works because they happen once, and like installations, and then they don't really get recreated in the same way again. And so they all have their own personality, their own time. And so it's hard for me to choose just one, but my latest work, Bloom for Charlotte Shout, I projection mapped the face of the McCall Center, and we had over 1,000 people come out, and they planted flowers, real flower bulbs in a flower bed. But and it was a community effort. So I had all these people come out and plant these flowers that were then distributed to different businesses around Charlotte, and to kind of beautify Charlotte in an effort to beautify. But the best part about it is people weren't just planting flowers. We gave them an experience when they planted flowers. So as they planted their flower bulb, a digital flower bloomed on the McCall. And it's like instant gratification. And I feel like I teach middle school students and that's all they want. It's just instant gratification. So I think it's a cool thing to be able to do that with art. And it was a really neat project because there was one person that came up and he had told me that was his first time ever planting a flower bulb. And I was like, I just had the assumption that everybody's done this before or seen it done or whatever. And so that kind of touched me because I was able to give just something, that simple experience to somebody too.
Yeah.
And yeah, so it was meaningful with the way I think I just enjoy everyone's experience that they have with the work. Yeah. And the people are what make my work the best. Like, because without the people, there's no interaction, there's no joy, it is what it is. So I like my work to be able to interact with others.
So, like, you're a people person, correct? And it's like, do you just like, what I'm seeing is like, you're really making the art to make like more experiences with more people, correct?
Yeah. I want people to walk away with an experience with my work. And, you know, so I want to make work that interacts with people and something that people can take with them. Like,
that's cool. So logistically, this seems like it's not like your average, like, all right, I just go home in my studio and just paint something or just put something together. It's like a different challenge. Like how does that, like, how do you put on these, what is your preparation to put on these different things?
Yeah, I feel like my studio practice is different than others. I feel like it's very on and very off. It's very much a long-term planning process instead of I'm going to go to my studio for a few hours and make this painting or 8 paintings and sell them. It's more like, okay, I'm going to do this project and it can be over a certain amount of months, and there's a bunch of milestones and small steps in between to get there. So it's a really long-term planning process when it comes to making bigger work. And a lot of my ideas are intuitive. They just come to me intuitively. And then I'm like, okay, now I got to try to figure out how to make this thing. So it takes time and you got to think about materials and who's involved. I'm a big collaborator, so I like to get other people involved because I can't do everything. And music is my weakness, so I like to make work and bring in other musicians and you know, that's because I can't compose music or make music. So I like to celebrate other people too and integrate other genres into my work as well.
For sure. That's cool. Like that you're able to bring it all together with different people. That like I've different one of the things that I've done is different. You ever been to like a musical jam session?
I think something like that probably.
Yeah, like when different like people with guitars, drums, vocalists, they all just come together, just freestyle the entire thing. Kind of like that, but like in your own way. I like that.
I like that. Yeah, I like that a lot.
So I was talking about like logistics because I was thinking about like, how do you fit this into your life? Like,
okay, so yes, I'm a full-time art teacher, and I've done all the stuff I've done while I'm teaching. And has that affected my teaching at all? No, because when I'm there, I'm a teacher, and then when I go home, I'm off. I'm an artist. I'm all those things equally. But I always said to myself before COVID happened, I was like, oh, I just have more time. I could do this, and this, you know. And then once I got that time with COVID, I didn't do all those things. And I did almost nothing. And I was like, oh, wait, I have all this time and I'm not doing any of these things that I said I was going to do. So what I've realized is, I do just as much, I do more when I'm doing a lot of things, right? And as opposed to like not doing a whole lot. So that's, go back to your question before, what the process looks like is I spend a few months on a big project, and then I have to take a couple months of a break, you know? So it's more the breaks are longer stretches, than the projects are longer stretches, but it's less of a daily on and off and more of just a long-term, like, go time. So
No, yeah, okay. I was wondering because like I feel like as us as artists and stuff, like yeah, your life seems kind of higher degree of structure to it. But I think a lot of artists like we want to create the stuff, but like we don't know how to like balance that with the structure for like being able to create the stuff and sustain ourselves and everything, right?
yeah, it's hard. It's hard, and it's hard for everybody. And that balance looks different for everybody. Everybody, there's a lot of times. I mean, there's a lot of things in my life that like I don't get my laundry done some of the times. Like that's like everything. So I think there's a give and take, and so it's just finding that balance. I think teaching has actually allowed me to experiment more with my work because I'm not quite a full-time artist yet. That is my goal, is to become a full-time artist soon. But it is difficult with raising rent and everything that's happening in Charlotte. But I definitely that's my goal, to be a full-time artist. And teaching has allowed me to experiment more with my work, because I feel like if I was a full-time artist, maybe I would try to become more of a rigid. I try to sell myself more,
Commodify yourself
more. Yeah. So I don't know. I don't know if it's a good or bad thing. I think teaching, it's been actually a really good thing for me to be able to kind of separate myself into two different places that maybe will kind of reflect on my art career and then also my teaching career.
Also think about like, since you're an art teacher, you're connected to the craft of it also. Like I feel like you can probably bring a lot of your soul into like the teaching of it still, since you actually do it in the background to a high degree as well.
Yeah, 100%. And be like an inspiration for the students, feel like you can do things out there with your work, and it can influence the world. So yeah, it's been a balance, that's for sure. Mm-hmm. So, and it hasn't always been easy, but it is. I do think that I feel like when I'm on a roll, then I stay on a roll.
You've been doing this for a while. You said 7 years?
Yeah.
Like, what has been like your motivator, like, or motivators, like, to get you this far? Because I know it's hard. I know for a fact that like there's a lot of things that come hit you, and it's like, how do I come and rebound and keep on going for this long?
Yeah. It is tough. Yeah, I think that there's an inner drive that I have. And it's something that came over time. When I first came to Charlotte, nobody knew who I was, and I didn't know any of the art scene or how to find people. And just slowly over time, I just started going to all these art shows, and then I would tell myself I need to meet somebody at every art show. And then at a time, I went to this many art shows, or a lot of art shows. I met all those people, and then I was more inspired by them. Inspired by what people were doing in the community, kind of reacting to what they're doing. A lot of my work inspiration comes from internal too. I did a lot of, I was doing a lot of self-reflection pieces when I first came to Charlotte, more like self-portraits. My master's thesis was all self-portrait, and it was all projection mapping. And I had never projection mapped before. I taught myself how to do it, and it was, I was really excited about how projection can light up a sculpture, just bring it to life. And then that's kind of what excited me about the medium. So I think what you're working with, medium, can also be exciting. I think the possibilities of technology is what kept me going. So I think the encouragement of our community and just the experiment of the technology was really what kept me motivated.
Yeah. So also, I want to talk about Talking Walls. So with Talking Walls, that's basically like, it's like a organization built to kind of help people who want to put their art, their murals, like on a bigger display, correct?
Yes.
Can you talk to me a little bit about that?
Yes. So I love Talking Walls. They've been doing a lot of great work since 2018, and they've brought artists the ability to be able to put a mural up in the city. We work with businesses, local businesses that might not be able to afford a mural, or maybe businesses that would sponsor us as an organization, and to be able to pay for these artists to make this mural with lift costs, paint costs, and labor costs, and everything it takes to make a mural. And so the murals are like, so it's kind of cool because you get to see multiple murals going up at the same time during the Talking Mural Festival every single year. And this year we brought in, we had some local artists, but we like to bring in international and national artists too. Now, Talking Walls loves our local community, but I think it's also important to bring in artists from other areas of the country to elevate our community here. Because, the artists that came in this year, Jason Naylor from New York and Wing Chao, and we even brought in Sanko from Mexico. Having these artists come in elevated our community. They got to meet some local artists here and anybody that kind of came up to them while they were painting. And it's more of an inspiration, I think, at me. So it's been a really cool program to be able to elevate our community, take a medium of murals that is very popular and competitive right now in the city. I feel like we're becoming a mural city, which is great. I think murals, every wall should have a mural on it. And just giving them opportunity for businesses to elevate their footprint, and as well as artists to show off their work, and having that relationship, building that relationship between businesses, I think is important.
Most definitely. Like you're basically like giving. I think I like how you decided not to. You recognize like the importance of like kind of reaching out into our bag, because we're not just. It's really about the art itself. I feel it's not just about it's about Charlotte. You want to make sure Charlotte's getting the love and everything. But like, if I'm being honest, like for anyone to grow, including a city, is like to look at everyone else and pull from what they're doing as well. And like we're able to bring that back here and like do it in the best way for us to like get better and better and bigger and bigger.
Yes, exactly.
So I have a question about like your perfect day. Like what is your perfect circumstances for like like you have the school, you do school and everything, and still have the planning and everything has to go into your art, and also taking care of yourself and everything. Like what is like the perfect day for you? I feel like from when you wake up to the end.
Yes. Okay. So a lot of the days, my perfect day would be probably I don't know. So if I was trying to see if my perfect weekday, I'll say, would be to wake up, go to just eat some breakfast, kind of eat your breakfast.
For sure.
And probably I'm trying not to drink coffee yet, but that's coming. Maybe have a cup of coffee. And then go into work, have a really good day teaching, inspiring some students. And then as soon as I leave, I want to have a nice dinner with somebody that I care about, probably in the art community or within like a family or friend. And then after that, go into my studio and have some hours of work time in my studio, being productive, and then definitely integrating some little bit of me time, just relax time, decompression time at the end of the day. But I think ideally, I try to, that's how I get all this stuff done. I try to fit as many things as I can within a day to feel productive. But then there are days where I want to get out of Charlotte and go like get inspired by nature or the mountains, and then take in, I've gone out before and have recorded nature sounds outside of Charlotte and then brought that back into my work here. So I think on the weekend days, I'd like to be able to step out of the box a little bit and be able to do that as well. But yeah, perfect day just has art, people, and inspiration.
Speaking of your inspiration, I like that. 'Cause I like to hear different artists like takes on like how they make their artwork for them and their lifestyle and everything. Even if it's like might not be perfect just yet, but like where they are in their career, because you got into a really high point in your career field in comparison to a lot of people here. So any type of inspiration, any type of education could help and everything.
Yeah.
So like you coming this far, like have you had any artists that you've like looked at as like inspiring to you to like help you to like decide how you want to make your craft maybe earlier in your career in comparison to like now? Like who's been out there to be really inspire you?
Yeah. So there's a lot of artists. I mean, there's artists in our Charlotte art community that inspire me, but I think, the one artist that really inspired me when it came to installation before I even started making installation was Christo. He's not with us on this earth anymore, but Christo and John Claude were the ones that made fabric sculptures that went through large scale throughout the United States and the world. And it was more just repetitive fabric sculptures that people could walk through and interact with, and it interacted with the environment around them too. So I think that was kind of my first inspiration as an artist. And then I think just our community inspires me. Big muralists like Matt Moore and Osiris Rain and Nick Napolitano, they were my biggest inspirations here when I first moved here with what they're doing with their work. And I think, I like seeing what people create and be innovative in here and being in their element. I think it's just inspiring.
Mm-hmm. Interesting. So like speaking of like being in your element and everything, like you've been doing art for a while. When you were younger, like way younger, did you draw like paint or anything before?
Yeah, I was pretty crafty when I was younger, I guess. I would draw and paint, and I was a painter. So that was kind of what I was comfortable with, training myself and doing, and painted a lot in high school and even in college. So painting was my element of art, and I don't paint anymore. I don't paint anymore. I do. Sometimes people ask me to make a painting, or it's very rare. I think it's something I still have and something I can go back to. Of course, I don't paint like I used to, I guess I should say. I paint murals and things like that, but I don't paint small canvases as much anymore. I think if it has something to do with this, like this has been painted and it's more interactive, it's just in a different way. And
what are you holding in your hand too, by the way?
Oh, yes. This is a hydrochromic paint cloud, and it is currently drying, but this white cover is hydrochromic ink that's then placed over a small painting. So this is like abstract shapes. And then when it reacts with water, it changes. So the kind of colors show up underneath. And it reacts with water. So it's very interactive in that way. So I love this because the art really doesn't exist without water. It needs that catalyst in order for you to see it. So I think I would like to paint if it's something more interactive in that sense, I think. And just looking at it a little bit differently.
Kind of like wows you. Yeah, I was going to ask you like in the difference, because like I know, for example, like when I was like younger making art and everything, it was just like I want to do something fun. I'm gonna just go sit down and draw, or I'm gonna just go like sing or something like that. You know what I'm saying? And like there could like, what is the difference between like when you go to create something now, like how that whole process and then it works?
I think it's the same thing. I just want to go out and do something fun, honestly. So with the eye illumination project that I'm doing with Mark Depker, where we have the eye on top of the car, that all started really as making something fun. Me and Mark, I had just finished a big Charlotte Shout project, which was intensive in creating a large scale work. And I was like, I just want to make something fun. And so to be able to go do that, make something fun, and then be able to, I guess, recreate that and see where it goes, right? This has been an amazing project that has grown far beyond like what I even thought, because I was just like, I had no expectations of it. It was like, Mark, we're just gonna go make fun and we'll see what happens. And I love that because it's work coming from pure creation, and I think that's what we should all be doing, making things from the heart.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
And like I like the heart. I feel like for example, like in comparison to like another person who's not doing art, whatever they're creating, I feel like it always still has the heart in it. If I'm being honest, like sometimes we do all the things that don't have as much heart in it, but like that's because I feel like we have to have the heart and the mind and the body kind of in alignment with whatever we're doing, right?
Yeah.
So like what has been able to like keep that, like both those things, like the analyticism, that's a word.
I think it's a word.
Analyticism in your work, like the heart, like what you love about it, and as well as like actually getting yourself to go out there and do it. Like, how have you been able to like kind of keep those kind of together? Do you think?
Yeah. So gosh, it's tough too, because I think I just always go back to my intuition and what just a gut feeling about my work. Yeah. So I think that's important, because you can get kind of lost as an artist. I've gotten caught up of making work just by thinking about what other people would think of it, instead of it coming from a place of pure creation. I just like, okay, I'm making this work with the intent of how other people are going to see it. Other people are going to see it, when it should be more of like, I just want to make the work for myself, for my own pure creation, and not really thinking about other people in that sense, because then you lose the sort of integrity of your work, or the what made it unique in the first place. If you're just making work for other people and not yourself. But it's tough. It's a tough thing to keep that awareness all the time about your work, and just knowing its purpose in general. So a lot of times I'll make something and I don't really know what this is yet, but it's gonna be something.
It's got a purpose always.
It's got a purpose somewhere. But I'm making it anyway, because I feel like I have to make it, and then it always turns into something else later. So.
And I think about like as artists, like fame, especially in Charlotte now, because it's growing so much, fame and like notoriety, it's like always looming in the background. If like it might be like, am I catering too much to like the idea of fame? Am I doing enough for myself and everything? And like, do you have any advice to give to any artist or who's trying to balance like that whole idea of being known for what they're doing?
Yeah, it's just stop thinking about that part. Don't worry about people. Okay, so I think it's a balance. I think just make work for your own creative purpose, but like as far as thinking like, oh, I need to make this work so people get to know me, and it is a thing. It is a thing want for all artists to have the recognition in their work. I think it's so important for artists to have recognition. And that's why we need to lift each other up as an art community and tell each other that we're doing great things in our work. Your music is awesome, by the way. And everything else that we guys do here at the podcast is awesome. And we need to keep lifting each other up in that way. And I think it's tough to make work and that it has to be for maybe something big that people are going to see it in their eyes, and people will enjoy it and like it. But I think maybe in more of a business sense, you can be strategic in that way, but keep that sort of one separate from your creative drive. Because you can go to, if you're painting murals, you can go to Cobra Paint and talk to them and be like, hey, would you want to sponsor me as an artist, and then get me more notoriety in that way? And that's more of kind of your business side of being an artist. And that's where you can really think about people getting to know your work in a bigger sense, and think about every aspect of your work and what who's involved in your work, what materials you're using, and how maybe they can get involved to help you get notoriety. But as far as what you actually create, that should stay pure in what you're in your style and everything.
Yeah, for sure. I just wanted to ask that because like myself, I've been like trying to figure that whole entire thing out, and I was like, there's someone else out there who's probably thinking about that too, because I think it does, like, it kind of stifles our creativity when we're thinking about, oh, it's just something that someone else is gonna like, and really what we should be thinking about is what we like to do, because that's why like that's what we're put on this earth. I feel like to do like balance it. Is this something I can do that I can like, as well as other people around me, and like that's the cool thing about it. We're probably about to wrap it up in a second.
Yeah.
So like, if I want to ask you, so are you a part of anything other than Talking Walls?
Yeah. So Talking Walls, I was the chair of last year, and I'm very involved with them. I try to get involved in as many things as possible. So I'm a YAMS member. I'm at the Mint Museum. I am a TAC founder. I get involved in others. I'm a Charlotte Art League member. I am at the VAPA Center. I'm an artist there. I try to get myself involved in as many art organizations as possible. And I'd say that right now, as far as my like involvement in things, I have tried to actually cut back a little bit because I feel like I've been involved. I've seen what's out there, and now I feel like I'm going to try to be more purposeful in what I'm getting into. I am really excited to just be here today with you and to know you, and really I'm just excited to be part of the art community.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So I have a question. Where could people find you and everything? Like,
Yeah, so I use mostly Instagram for my social media. So you can find me at Rebecca Lips Art, all one word, on Instagram. And you can get an update mostly from my work on there. I have RebeccaLipsArt.com as my website. And then I also, you can find me in different galleries around Charlotte. I have a show coming up at the end of February-ish with Super Dafros. We're doing a collaboration at Flux Galleries. It's going to be an immersive installation space. We're calling it at the moment the Tonic Caverns. And you'll be able to kind of step into an otherworldly space with light projection and sculpture. So definitely come and check that out towards the end of February, weekend in March.
okay.
Mm-hmm.
Wow, that's gonna be exciting. I'm glad like that. Those are like your like magnum opuses. Like those experiences. Like what your goal is what you want to make every single time. Like,
Yeah. Exactly. Just excited to like give people an experience and kind of go from there. So I'm excited to see you guys. Thank you so much for having me on this podcast today. I'm so happy to be here.
I'm happy to have you too, Rebecca. So yeah, we're gonna wrap it up and everything. So thank you guys for watching the Charlotte Tours podcast again. We're available on Instagram. We have a podcast up on Spotify, Google Podcasts. It's coming out of Apple Podcasts soon. And yes, this is your host, Tor the Magi. So we'll go ahead and get you guys next time. Thank you guys for watching.
Yeah, thank you. Appreciate it.